King Tut the Hidden Family. Secret. Little-known facts whisper behind that famous gold face. Though many think of King Tut as a symbol of old Egypt, his body carried hidden pain. People stayed fascinated for years about how he died so young, only 19. Some guessed killers in court ended him. Others thought a crash from a fast chariot did it. Modern science cracked deeper into bones and blood using scans and gene tests. What came out wasn't drama. It was sorrow. Fragile bones defined his life, not battles. A young ruler shaped by family ties too close for health, his body paid the price. Born from siblings, his genes carried fault lines no medicine could fix. One foot twisted at birth, movement never came easy. His mouth formed differently, speaking likely strained. Each step invited pain, worsened by a condition eating away at his foot bones. Sticks filled his burial chamber, not symbols but tools to stay upright. Walking demanded help, balance needed constant support. Death arrived quietly, infection after a fall, a wound that wouldn't heal. No violent end, just weakness winning where strength was absent. Weak from illness, his body failed when the broken bone near his knee rotted. Malaria had already drained him, made worse by inherited flaws in how he fought disease. A king by title only, he fell apart where bones met flesh. Bloodlines once praised now betrayed him quietly. Power sat heavy on someone so fragile. Ancestors' weaknesses outlived their names. Ramesses III and the Royal Massacre. Deep inside the palace, far from battlefields, Ramesses III faced his deadliest threat. Not an army at the gates, but whispers growing louder in the women's quarters. Ta, one of his wives, wanted power, not for herself, but for her son Pentoa. She pulled strings quietly, drawing in court figures, soldiers, even those who practiced forbidden rites. Spells were cast, meant to weaken the king's spiritual shield, leaving him open. The plan went beyond mere assassination. It aimed to unravel his rule before ending his life. For centuries, historians puzzled over how he died, since his body bore no visible wounds. Wrapped tightly in cloth, clues stayed buried along with the truth. Then came modern eyes, scanners piercing time, uncovering what knives could not show. Beneath the folds, a deep cut across his throat told the real story. A king felled not by war, but betrayal from within. A slash cut deep into the pharaoh's neck, strong enough to slice through windpipe and scrape bone. Such rage marked the fight. One blow tore away his big toe mid-battle. Craftsmen later softened the horror, padding scars with layers of linen, slipping a false toe beneath the wrappings. Not time nor illness took Ramesses III. Death came sharp and close, delivered where trust should have held firm. Cleopatra, Queen of Poison. Ending her life on her own terms, Cleopatra VII outmaneuvered Rome's plan to display her like a trophy. Though tales speak of a serpent's fang, science paints a different picture. One of quiet precision. From the ruins of Alexandria's library, she pulled knowledge most never touched. Death by snake. Too unpredictable, too brutal for someone so sharp. Instead, trials on captives may have led her to a mix designed to work fast without pain. A drink brewed from hemlock, wolfsbane and opium probably stilled her breath for good. History remembers drama. Truth leans toward method. This blend made it possible for her to slip quietly into stillness, slowing her pulse until breaths faded, no trace behind. Arriving at her room, Octavian's men saw not agony from fangs, but calm repose. Royal form resting as if lit by moonlight on gilded sheets, her grasp of poisons turning defeat into silence. Ramesses II, facing the weight of greatness. Though Ramesses the Great ruled for 66 long years and had more than 100 children, fame did little to ease what came later. Massive temples like Abu Simbel rose in his honor, yet time ignored such glory. 90 winters passed above his head, each one tightening its grip on his frame. Bent nearly double, his back refused to straighten due to unrelenting joint pain. Walking became slow torture. Still, worse agony waited inside his mouth. Teeth crumbled, roots exposed, chewing turned into daily suffering. Deep inside his lower jaw, a large infected pocket had eaten its way entirely through the bone. Without today's medicines or dental care, such an infection meant unrelenting pain pulsing across his skull. Eating became punishment. Speaking grew difficult. Over time, germs from that single rotten tooth slipped into his circulation, spreading poison through his body. A ruler who once commanded vast lands and outlived most people of his age fell victim to something too small to see. What ended him wasn't war or betrayal, just one failing part. Hatshepsut's deadly skincare habit. Out of nowhere, Hatshepsut ruled not as a queen but as a king, wearing the false beard that went with the role. Though her reign defied tradition, it carried consequences no one saw coming. Years passed before anyone learned how she really died. Clues stayed silent until 2007, when her body was matched to a mummy. That discovery showed severe bone disease eating through her skeleton. Then, 4 years later, researchers uncovered something strange. A tiny bottle buried in her tomb held a substance linked to her illness. Inside the container, tests found palm oil mixed with nutmeg and a deadly dose of benzopyrene, a known cancer-causing chemical. Though plagued by long-term skin issues such as eczema, Hatshepsut used this so-called healing ointment daily, hoping to calm irritation and preserve her regal look. Year after year, without realizing it, she smeared a powerful toxin deep into her flesh each time. Her routine, meant to care for her body, became the spark that set off spreading tumors destroying her skeleton. Powerful enough to survive court intrigue, this woman who ruled as Pharaoh fell victim to something far quieter, self-inflicted harm hidden in a jar she relied on blindly. Sekenenre Tao died fighting. Frozen mid-scream, the mummy of Sekenenre Tao, called the Brave, holds a grim tale rarely seen among ancient rulers. Not calm like others, his expression locks agony deep into bone. Ruler during war with the Hyksos, he led defiance yet fell far from open combat. Instead, injuries show control, not chaos, a killing done with purpose. One strike split his brow with an axe crushing forward. Behind the ear, a blade slipped in sharp and precise. Then came force, a club smashing downward, breaking his jaw apart. Strangely, his fingers stayed frozen mid-grip, twisted tight like ropes had held them behind him. Captured in battle, perhaps, he may have knelt before enemies who showed no mercy. Smashed again and again, hit with varied blades, among them a heavy axe from Hyksos warriors, he fell without defense. Rush burial followed. Those preparing the body left marks untouched, lips parted as if caught mid-breath. Violence marked his end, but that violence sparked something stronger later on. Expulsion of foreign rulers. One kingdom rising after another broke their hold. Ptolemy XIII, dead with heavy circumstances. Heavy gold dragged him down when the boy king tried to swim. Though only 15, power had already twisted into something dangerous around him. Running from defeat by his sister and her Roman friend did not stop him dressing like a god. Victory at the Nile shattered what little control remained. With soldiers broken behind, water pulled harder than pride could fight back. Armor meant to shine under the sun instead sank beneath waves. Image mattered more than life, until it took his breath away. Panic gripped the group as they shoved onto the tiny boat, already tipping under too much weight. Mid-river, where water rushed fast, it flipped without warning. Most boys that age could have kicked free, yet the heavy gold chest guard and helmet held him like chains beneath the surface. Down he went, sucked into the thick silt at the riverbed, breath gone in moments, power weighing more than life. Days passed before Romans dragged him up, pale and cold, but the armor gleamed bright as ever, empty now, proof that what he wore to feel divine instead sealed his fate. Ramesses V dies during plague outbreak. His rule lasted only 4 years, a time shadowed by crumbling trade and uncertain grain yields. Yet what truly tells his story lies beneath the surface, in marks left behind long after death. Scattered across his dried flesh were countless tiny bumps, swollen like seeds under parchment. These scars stayed untouched through centuries of sand and silence. Researchers uncovered them while studying his remains, revealing a disease once unknown to medicine. That moment changed everything we knew about one of humanity's oldest killers. For people back then, such sickness came without warning, striking down even those wrapped in linen and gold. Out of nowhere came a sight no one expected. their divine ruler said to walk between gods and mortals covered in sores no holy healer could touch. While chaos spread down the Nile, Ramesses V fell ill, trapped inside an outbreak too fierce to stop. Royalty offered no shield when disease moved in. It took him just like anyone else. Long before modern times, a tiny killer already stalked humanity, smallpox, leaving scars on history far earlier than we once thought. Buried beneath layers of linen and time, his body tells a quiet truth. Empires can rise, yet still bend to forces unseen. Menes, the king, and the chaos beast. Out of nowhere rose Menes, said to begin the first dynasty by stitching together two lands once split, Upper and Lower Egypt, not through war alone, but by planting Ma'at, the idea of balance blessed by gods. 62 years he held rule, shaping what would become a lasting civilization, until fate turned on him in an instant, not by blade nor betrayal, yet by beast. Old texts whisper it plainly. He fell prey to a clash with a hippopotamus. Though heavy-bodied, these animals move fast when provoked, guarding their space like nothing else across African plains, jaws strong enough to crush bone without effort. To those who lived along the Nile, such creatures were not just danger, they stood for Seth himself, bringer of storm, fury, and broken harmony. Out of stillness rose a tale soaked in strange contrast. The man called Egypt's unifier, whose years were spent carving structure from dust and flood, met his end tangled in river currents, pulled under by what he'd tried to control. Though records whisper of an ambush near shore or a misstep while tracking game, one truth clung fast afterward. Even crowns cannot silence the pulse of untamed water lurking below the banks. His fall whispered something raw across the reeds. Balance is borrowed, never owned. Even though pharaohs were seen as gods, death treated them just like everyone else. Not one escaped it, not even those wrapped in gold and legend. Tutankhamun carried weak genes beneath his royal robes. Ramesses III was cut down by his own courtiers in the dead of night. Some rulers faded quietly, taken by sickness hiding in their blood or strange sores on their skin. Others stumbled into sudden endings, battlefields, wild animals, moments gone wrong. Cleopatra chose her moment with calm precision. Menes simply met a hungry hippo. Grand tombs rose behind them, yet none could outwalk what every body must face.